here. Ms. Cooper, stand up. Ms. Murray. Who else is here? Ms. Jubileer. And who else here? There also was Paul Davis, who's the JSEF rep for the community. John Melius, who's the student body president. Kelsey Hardcastle, who's a student rep. Mr. Spinney, who's our AD, was also on the committee. I just want to thank these people for their time and effort to do this. It was a very difficult task, obviously, trying to gather all the input. I think that we all took the process seriously and got as much input as possible from all the stakeholders in the district. The initial process, we went out, got a large number of suggestions from the community, from the students, from alumni. We took that input, narrowed down the choices, and brought that back out to all the stakeholders again. And at the end, there were 3 mascot choices that were favored by all of the constituents or stakeholders involved. The one that received probably the most favorable, I don't know how to word this, but it got the most favorable input from the stakeholders. From the community, definitely was the Warriors. From the students, it was the Warriors by a very narrow margin. The vote, or the student input, was very close with all 3 of the Warriors, the Wildcats, and the Raptors. We're all within a small percentage of each other. The Warriors did receive the most input from the students also. I can answer any questions for you.
So do you feel confident that all the students were polled?
Yes.
Do you feel confident that they were comfortable enough to make a decision that they felt was the right decision for them?
I think the students made the best decision that they thought possible. You have a wide range. You have people who are 14 years old and 18 years old, and so they're also living at home, so there's some input and some influence that way too. So students, I think they felt Mark, you can add just a little bit.
What I found was there was a lot of discussion over the mascot, and they would always talk about it and oh, why would this be fitting for our school and stuff. So yeah, I think they made a good choice, well thought out decision.
You feel like all the students had input?
Yeah.
I have a question, Mark. Do you think it was the success of the Golden State Warriors that's currently
No,
any play on that?
I don't believe.
I know it's because the Warriors and Patriots, and we know what the Patriots
The
did.
Super Bowl champion?
Yeah.
Hopefully the
I'm
NBA
wondering,
champion?
I wonder why they didn't go with the Giants too.
I don't believe that had an yeah.
Norman, you had a question?
I did. I was wondering who was second between the other 2.
They were very close. I don't. The exact number was 167 to 159.
Okay.
So, very close. Percentage-wise, probably not a large difference. So.
Wildcats as the second.
The Raptors was the second.
Raptors the second.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what would be helpful from the board would be some direction as we move forward regarding desire to make a decision, make a selection, select based on the information that's being presented by the committee, and I'm talking about moving forward to our next meeting on June 24th. Or if the board is not prepared to make a decision, do they want to postpone that decision to some point in time further down the road? But we need some direction so that we can create the agenda for next meeting 2 weeks from tonight and have the appropriate item on the agenda for the board to take action.
We'll bring it back on the 24th and make a decision one way or the other. It's been going on for a long time now, so 2 more weeks.
Any other opinions?
I just thought, well, in my personal opinion, I felt, and one of the coalition members, Philip, I think his name is that you? No, it was Blue. Bob. He said that he felt that we had rushed, even though we've been talking about it, we have been talking about it since last August. He felt that our process had been rushed. And I agree with him. I felt especially bad having we asked our students to do a poll at school, and they did when this first happened. And Mark came back and reported that the majority of students, a great majority of students, did not want to change the mascot. And that same night, the board went ahead and voted to change it. And as soon as I got home, I had talked to Molly Batchelder about my hesitation as well. I think that we should have given more credence at that time to what the students were saying. I still believe, and this is something that never happened, that the coalition group of people should have done, and the school district should have cooperated to have some sort of informational program or whatever at the school before the kids were polled, because I think there still was a lot of misunderstanding about what this was about. I know there's still a lot of people that are angry with this. I know there's a lot of people happy with this, but I do feel it was rushed, and I think to come with it, especially tonight, I guess we can't because it's not on the agenda, but I don't know how we can do it. I don't want to start over again, and I recognize how much work the committee has done and Mr. Bronning has done, but I still don't feel comfortable picking any of these names, and especially after the last meeting when Blue, what is his name? He talked, and his friend talked about how the Warriors was not appropriate. So, students and the public, that is their first choice. And then if we choose that, we're not really accomplishing what we intended to do in the first place. So I feel really comfortable putting it off. And whether it's to the next meeting or even further, I'm not sure. But I don't feel comfortable making this a decision tonight, and I'm not sure.
Well, we're planning on doing it at the next meeting.
I know that.
This is informational tonight, with the
Right.
report of the findings.
Right.
But then the board does need to make a determination if they want an action item
Right.
next meeting.
I guess my only thing that I would say to all of this is that your duty is to do what's right for the school and the school district and create an appropriate mascot for
Right.
the school. So it's not a popularity contest.
No.
So that's my only words of wisdom that I have for the board.
Well, no matter which way we vote, there's going to be a certain amount of people
Yes.
against us, no matter what. So it's
Yeah,
not a popularity contest.
right,
I just
I
want to
was-
do what's right and what feels right to me, which was, if I had to do over again, I would have not voted that night to change the mascot at all. I would have waited until there was a presentation to the entire board about the whole issue, and the students at least would be more informed. And speaking of that, there is an exhibit that was mentioned in Vallejo at the Naval Historical Museum about the Native Americans in our area that runs through June the 27th, and it's free. And I think all of us should try and make a point to get over there at some point. It's on Marin Avenue in Vallejo, and I think it's open from noon
What is it
to.
again?
It's an Ohlone exhibit. It's called Ohlone Elders and Youth Speak, Restoring a California Legacy. And it's an exhibit that features the Ohlone people, a Karkeen Ohlone included. And it is, portrays a photography image along with a historian that recorded the statement. So when you see the imagery, you kind of get to know the person that you're looking at, the Ohlone person. There's different bands. So it shows you that little area in California that goes in like that in the water. There's all different bands along there, and so it breaks that down. And so on the 13th, she's speaking of, there's a panel discussion with the Ohlone people, and there's a film showing called Beyond Recognition, and it talks about some of the struggles that the Ohlone people are facing today.
Anyway, I just thought it was appropriate to look more into that.
So what are you proposing, Norma?
I'm proposing that we, the board, take time to go see that exhibit and just to learn more ourselves. And it's too late in the school year to do a presentation for the student body, and I regret that. I wish that we had done that, so
Well,
I don't know what I'm proposing. I just say that I'm not comfortable changing it to Warriors, although that's the popular opinion, at least from what our surveys and our hardworking committee
Can I
said.
ask you a question?
Yeah.
I think we've all decided that there wasn't enough education for the students and that there needs to be more. Absolutely. But understanding that, knowing that, and knowing that we are going to go forward providing more education on this topic to our students, the decision itself, would you have voted any other way?
It felt right to me. I was torn because, again, because I said the presentation wasn't done to the school, to the students, and that should have been done. After listening to the coalition speak to us since probably last summer, it made a lot of sense to just in knowing that feelings were getting hurt and even more than that, emotions were so strong that some I mean, you were talking about suicide and people's self-image, the Native Americans. It seemed logical to me to vote to change it. Yes.
And now that you're having an issue with the name warrior, it just seems to me that kind of.
I'm not having an issue
Oh,
with
okay.
it. I'm not having an issue, but I know that the coalition was having an
Okay.
issue.
Are
and
you having an issue with the name warriors?
because they are.
Well, what do you want? What do you
I don't
think
know.
is important?
I think it's important not to hurt people's feelings, and I also understand that the alumni from the schools feel just as strongly that to leave the. I want to know actually how long it took the Apaches in Vallejo. How long did it take their school board to change? It wasn't just a matter of months, was it?
Let's see, they changed it rather quickly, but they brought us in when they were picking a new one with the students, alumni, and administration and staff. So like your chief newspaper says, the community was brought together and different groups were represented. I'm very disappointed that the Native American community was not brought into that. And also, like Ms. Clarice says, I'm very disappointed too as an Indigenous person that we were not consulted and brought in to do a mascot discourse for staff, administration, and students, because we were offering that.
Can I interrupt?
Yes.
We asked, we were promised that you were gonna come in and assist us.
We sent a
hold on,
follow-up
please,
email
allow
and
me,
you didn't
allow me.
respond.
On more than one occasion, I sent emails to Ms. Batchelder wondering when this was gonna begin. You know where I stand on this issue. Okay, we have the same feeling, okay? But I also am disappointed because, you know, this is a long time coming, we worked hard at that. You know, it was a difficult decision for some. It would have been nice to get some education for the students, but I will say this, we made the decision to change it. I don't think, I mean, this isn't a new subject. This has been going on in the United States for years.
In our school for 20
And
years. 20 years. More than
roughly, yeah.
that. Yeah.
So, you know, it's not like this just crept us up on us.
Yeah.
We've all had our opportunity to think about it. One way or the other, we've got to move in a direction. You know, as Mr. Browning said, I think it was very wise advice. We have to do what's best for the students. Principally, not the alumni. They have graduated. It's for the students. Me personally, I'd like to get away from the image of a, you know, somebody fighting, a soldier, you know, a warrior, you know, in the past when I went to school, it was a ridiculous figure of a, you know, a Native American with a tomahawk. I'd like to get away from that, me personally, you know. But one way or the other, we have to come to a decision. We are dithering on about this. This doesn't affect education. In the course of everyone's life, this isn't really going to have much of an effect on them. I mean, it's not going to change anything. We have a lot of things to discuss. Let's, you know, let's do what we're going to do and move on.
So, I think, so we have some speakers and we need to get through that. All what I'm hearing is that we're going to move this to next month and we can discuss it again. You and I can discuss whether it's going to be an action item or not for a decision for the board to make a decision on the school name. I will say this much. I have, you know, I don't know if it's because of the Warriors, but you know, I see a basketball and a bridge. Whether it's the Golden Gate or whether the Bay Bridge, I haven't even really paid attention. But at the end of the day, I don't have an issue I will be upfront with the Warriors. I don't see that as portraying any image of it hurting other people or not. It's just a name. It's just a mascot. Indians, however, I was on the board, obviously, and I made the decision that Indians are not mascots. They're people. Warriors, to me, at the moment, it's not as compelling to me that they're around, that they have a voice. What do they represent? And I don't mean that towards any disrespect. Me personally, I have an image of a basketball and a bridge currently. It's timing, I suppose. And before that, it was just a bridge. So I would like to end this because we have some speakers, but Ms.
But
Brandon,
I'd
go
like to
ahead.
say something too. I kind of like the name Warriors for our school, and this is why. Our school is made up of many children that come from very diverse backgrounds and cultures, many children that are survivors of abuse, neglect, poverty. These children are warriors in a very small school district that works very hard for what they have. And so I think warriors would be totally appropriate for our students. I don't see a warrior, even though I understand that some of the parents that brought it up connect it with the Native American population. I understand that completely. But because a couple of people are idiots, I don't think that we should discount what I think that name brings to our school.
All right, with that moving forward, we're going to now, and you will have